I'm not sure how to open this video. So many things to say and not enough time to say it. This video is going to be long. I really can't think of what the fuck to say. I spent about 10 minutes looking around my room for my Giannis jersey. It appears that I misplaced it. Don't know where the fuck it is. So instead, I am wearing my Fear the Deer shirt that I got at Game 4 of Bucks versus Nets. Man, I feel like this is the most I can be satisfied with a team winning a championship that I can be when it's not my own team. Like, this is as close in terms of like enjoyment that I can get without it actually being my basketball team, because in many ways the Bucks actually have been my basketball team for this playoff run, because of course the Chicago Bulls are dog shit. But I genuinely got so much enjoyment and happiness out of this playoff run, and of course anger as well, because that's what comes with the Bucks, is they can make you feel so many drastically opposing emotions. But Giannis is one of my favorite players in the league. I've made that no secret, and I have been defending this guy for a long time with the Raptors series that happened, with the Heat series that happened. I was always pointing the finger somewhere else, and it got to a point where I was starting to question if I was just incapable of properly criticizing Giannis, because I was like, do I just like this guy so much that I can't say mean things about him? But that is just really showing how defensive I was of the guy. And to actually have been right about him is very vindicating. To see him win a championship, because one of the reasons Giannis is one of my favorite players in the league is not just that he is such an amazing talent. That's kind of a given. The reason I love Giannis so much is far beyond basketball. Giannis is one of the best people in the league, period. He is such a good dude. So many different stories, so many different videos you can watch. There was one the other day that I had seen before, but it was nice to see again, where some girl brought in drawings that she did of him, and then he got up from his seat and hugged her. He's such a nice guy. He's a funny ass dude. If you watch like different clips of him, like in Buck shoot arounds and stuff, he's just great. Giannis is one of my favorite people in the world, on top of being one of my favorite basketball players. So to see him get what I know that he wanted so desperately is very, very, very satisfying, both because, hey, I like Giannis, but also I was right. And I honestly was at a point, especially after the Heat series in the bubble, where I was semi-questioning how right I actually was. Another thing I was right about is that the Bucks won this series in 6 with a healthy Giannis. That was my prediction. I said, no healthy Giannis, like it's like he plays half of the series and he's kind of whatever. I'd say Suns in 6 or 7. And if Giannis is healthy the whole way through, even though he wasn't really healthy in game 1, it was like kind of, I said Bucks in 6. So another thing, I ended up being right. But let's not give myself too much credit, because there were certainly doubts along the way, especially after the Suns went up 0-2. And the Bucks had a track record where they really were not a team to swing back. Of course, they did that versus the Nets in round 2. But just in general, the Bucks over the past couple of years especially have just been the team that rolls over and dies. And I was concerned that they were going to do that after the Suns won the first 2 games, but here we are now, and they won the next 4. Shout out to Brandon Jennings with the Bucks in 6 thing. I know that was a thing from back in the day, and hearing the crowd shout it. I went to Game 3, so to feel like I was a part of this championship as well in some way, just having been there, being like I was present for the Bucks championship run twice, actually. Just absolutely an amazing experience to go to a finals game, to see the NBA champion live in their finals. Now, am I like 5% annoyed that I went to the only game that was won by more than 10 or 12 points? Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah, so I'm just very happy right now because I love Giannis. I like the Bucks. It's more so like how there are people that loved the Cavs, but really they just loved LeBron. I love Bobby Portis. I've been a Bobby Portis fan since he was a rookie with the Chicago Bulls. So another area I feel vindicated is that now everybody knows this guy is awesome. I have been preaching to the choir, or not preaching to the choir, that would mean everyone agrees with me. I have been preaching how much I like Bobby Portis for a very, 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 very long time. Of course, he had that controversy where he punched Nikola Mirotic, but also I didn't like Nikola Mirotic, so I was perfectly okay with that. So he had that, but he always brought energy. He had real offensive skills that would routinely result in games like today where he has really big buckets. You feel the impact of Bobby Portis. He can stretch the floor. He can do a little bit off of the dribble. He can do some stuff in the post. Decent enough finisher. But then he brings much more than his offensive ability. And even his defense is like wishy-washy. Sometimes he's really good. Sometimes he's really bad. It depends. But the thing that he brings first and foremost every time is the energy. And that's really what keeps him on the floor. Obviously, it matters that he can space the floor. Obviously, it matters that he's more capable defending a guard on a switch than not Bobby Portis. He is Bobby Portis. Than Brook Lopez. The B's got me confused there. But it's the energy that he brings. It is the energy that he brings to the game that you feel the impact of it. You feel the momentum shifts that he is capable of bringing when the entire crowd is chanting Bobby. It's awesome. So I love him, love Giannis. After that, Chris Middleton's cool. Drew Holiday's cool. I do really like PJ Tucker. Don't like Brook Lopez. Don't like Jeff Teague. Don't like Mike Budenholzer. But ultimately, the team that I wanted to win this championship won this championship, and I'm very satisfied with that. I might get to the X's and O's of this game. I'm 7.5 minutes in now, and I'm still just talking about how happy I am for the Bucks. Also subscribe, I guess. Haven't mentioned that. Drop a like on the video. Trying to hit 100K by the end of the year. So that'd be cool. But anyways, now I guess we can talk about the Phoenix Suns for a bit. I just dropped a video on my main channel about what's next for the Suns, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. All I can say is it's weird. Like, a lot of people were getting on Giannis, or not on getting on Giannis. I keep fucking up names in this. A lot of people were getting on LeBron for cheering for Chris Paul, which I thought was so stupid. Because it's well documented that LeBron is very good friends with Chris Paul. But there were a lot of people getting on Chris Paul, or getting, I did it again. A lot of people getting on Giannis, oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. A lot of people were getting on LeBron James for singing the praises of Chris Paul in this series and rooting for him. And ironically, to obviously a much lesser extent, because I am not LeBron James, I had quite a few people in the Phoenix Suns camp annoyed with me because I was rooting for the Bucks. I don't know how many times I need to say this, but the Suns are also one of my favorite teams in the league. I love Chris Paul. I was actually campaigning for last offseason desperately for the Bucks to trade for Chris Paul. That was a thing that was rumored, but I was kind of ahead of the curve, where as soon as OKC's season and the Bucks season was done, I was like, Chris Paul to Milwaukee has to happen, because it's pretty obvious OKC is going to trade him this offseason, and it's pretty obvious the Bucks need somebody like CP3. And instead, we got the Bucks versus CP3 and the Phoenix Suns. But the Suns were one of my favorite teams in the league this year because, ironically, even though I made that video giving him some shit, DeAndre Ayton, I really like him. And Suns fans don't like me because of that video about DeAndre Ayton, but really that video was just me saying, I like Ayton. I think he can be a lot better, so I'm a little bit disappointed by him. And he obviously broke out quite a bit in this year's playoffs, even though I still think there's a lot of room to grow in terms of his actual scoring ability. But Devin Booker and Chris Paul mid-range shots are like my favorite thing in basketball. Like, I grew up watching Kobe, so the mid-range game is like my favorite thing in basketball, and basketball is like my favorite thing. So mid-range pull-up shots are legitimately in like my top 5 favorite things in the world. So of course, I've always liked Chris Paul because of that shot. Of course, he brings other things to the table, but just him in the pick and roll, big drops, he gets to the elbow, he gets a little fadeaway, bang every time, it feels like. Just, it's poetry in motion. That, at its simplest form, is why I love basketball. And Chris Paul, in many ways, shows what I love about basketball. So I was very much rooting for the Phoenix Suns, not in this series, but pretty much the entire way through up until this series. And my ranking of favorite teams in the league after the Bulls, which have a huge gap here at number 1, it was then a healthy Denver Nuggets, because I wasn't rooting for them to win when I knew they weren't going to be really competing for a championship without Jamal Murray. And then it would be Bucks, and then right after that, it would be Suns. So right on top of each other. Although there was a decent gap in investment just because I've loved the Bucks all year, or the last 3 years outside of Eric Bledsoe, who I couldn't stand. And then I liked the Suns just really this year. But yeah, just overall, I didn't want to see the Suns lose. I just wanted to see the Bucks win, if that makes sense. It's kind of like the, did this team win, or did this team beat you, or did you lose? You know what I mean? So it was like, I wanted the Bucks to win. That doesn't mean I wanted the Suns to lose. That's just kind of a byproduct of the Bucks winning. So in a way, I wanted the Suns to lose, but that wasn't the motivation. So yeah, just wanted to clarify that. I guess I can try and talk about the X's and O's. If you want to hear my thoughts on what's next for the Phoenix Suns, like what they do from here, you can go check that out on my main channel. That video is up right now. But in terms of the X's and O's of this game, I didn't even talk about the specifics of this game yet. We're 12 minutes in. Giannis had fucking 50, dude. Giannis had 50 goddamn points in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, along with, I don't even know how many rebounds, and he also had 5 blocks, and all 5 of those blocks felt huge. Let's see. He had 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 blocks, 64% from the field, 17 for 19 from the free throw line. 17 for 9. That is almost, if you're rounding up, that is 90% from the line. We got that out of Giannis in an elimination game. Do you know how fucking locked in this guy was for him to go 17 of 19 from the line? That is genuinely some legendary shit. This is one of the best, and I'm talking like probably in the top 3, and the other 2 spots probably belong to LeBron James. One of the best finals games, individual final game performances that I have ever seen. He was so good defensively. And then on the other end, no answer for him. He was making DeAndre Ayton, who to this point had done a passable job on him defensively. He made him look like a fucking baby today. Like, it was comical how much Giannis was killing him. And the thing is, he got 19 free throws because that was the only option that the Suns had. A lot of people were giving Scott Foster and the refs shit because obviously Scott Foster has that track record versus Chris Paul, but genuinely almost every time he went to the line, like pretty much every time, it was a foul. So it was not like the refs were anti-Suns. In fact, there were a couple of foul calls. Like, if we're looking at just the dumb foul calls that happened in this game, almost all of them were in Phoenix's favor. Not all of them, but most of them. But like, aesthetically, it's just the dumber fouls, not necessarily the most impactful ones that were not the best calls in the world. Like, just the obvious shit was like, come on, that's a bad call. We all know that's a bad call, and yet that's the call we're all going with. And that was mostly in the favor of the Suns. There was one of them that was a Devin Booker thing that probably should have been a foul, but whatever. Giannis, just unbelievable. Everybody else, Chris Middleton was fine. He was fine. He, of course, hit basically the dagger in this game, and I think made it like a 6-point game with like a minute left, or with like, I think like 45 seconds left, something like that. So he hit that shot. In general, he was kind of quiet in this one. Drew Holiday was god-awful, from at least in terms of putting the ball in the basket. He did hit a really big three that kind of shifted momentum. He was a good distributor, got a lot of key steals, and nearly had a triple-double, actually. I didn't even realize that. He was 1 rebound shy. But, he was awesome defensively. And Devin Booker kind of had a rough go of it this game as a result. Chris Paul, who had an amazing game, by the way, he had a rough go of it every time that Drew Holiday was on him. Like, literally, it was night and day. As soon as Drew Holiday was back on Devin Booker, Chris Paul was feasting. Because for the first, quarter and a half, or quarter and, an eighth, I guess, of the second quarter, early in the second quarter, Chris Paul looked real bad, and then Drew Holiday was no longer on him, and then suddenly he has, 6 straight points. But yeah, Chris Paul had a good game. Give him credit there. Jay Crowder he didn't have a good game. Never mind. He just put up decent points. DeAndre Ayton, like I said, kind of getting bitched by Giannis. I'm not going to lie. Cameron Payne, 10 points in 10 minutes. They honestly probably should have given him more opportunity now that I'm looking at that. Because I know he scored that 10 points in the second quarter. And they just kind of subbed him out. It was nothing more from there. Frank Kaminsky was really good in a short amount of minutes. I'll say not really good. He was good for Frank Kaminsky. We'll put it that way, because he had done literally nothing in the minutes previous to this. So 3 for 4 from the field, got an offensive rebound and a pass out to Jay Crowder for a 3 that was really big. So, he wasn't terrible in the minutes he got when he previously was either terrible or just non-existent. But other than that, Brook Lopez went on a 6-0 run with a dunk and then 2 floaters, I think it was. That was something. I mentioned Bobby Portis. He had an amazing game. That's the reason why he was such a focal point, he was at the top of my brain, because he was fantastic in this one. Jeff Teague didn't even play 2 minutes. That you'll love to see it. I have to give credit to Mike Budenholzer, because literally other than the Jeff Teague minutes, not this game, but just the series at large, he did a good job. He genuinely did a very good job coaching. We saw the way that the Bucks kind of shifted their offense and how Giannis was being utilized as the playoffs went along. Less ISO stuff, more being the ball, more being the roll man in the pick and roll, being in dump off opportunities, cuts, post-ups, things like that. Giannis just being more utilized as a big man. Excuse me. I've been talking for 18 minutes. Cut me some slack. Brook Lopez being utilized less. There was a long stretch of this game where he wasn't doing jack shit, and it was frustrating me, but I'm not going to go in on Brook Lopez right now because he's a champion right now, and he did decent in this game and decent overall in the playoffs. He had his ups and downs. Pat Connaughton was terrible in this game, but that's fine. He was great in Game 5. But genuinely, Mike Budenholzer did a good job this entire series, and for the most part in the playoffs. There were obviously ups and downs there. The Bucks come with a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately they ended up on top, and that's what matters. And I think I was listening to Funky's post-game recap as I was frantically searching for my Giannis jersey, and it didn't happen. But he mentioned a tweet that he got tagged in that I also got tagged in, where somebody said, is it actually good for the Bucks to win a championship if it means Mike Budenholzer is back? Which, first of all, if a championship meant that Jim Boylan was the head coach of the Bucks for the next 4 years, it would still be a good thing for them to win a championship, because that's the end goal. You deal with whatever negative comes after the fact because you got what you needed to get. So, no, Mike Budenholzer being back isn't a big negative. I don't even know that I'd say it's a negative right now, because he clearly changed and he clearly adjusted in the playoffs. Now, if they could just get somebody to replace the Jeff Teague minutes, then we would be just fine. Other than that, I don't think there's much to say. X's and O's wise, what is there anything that I'm missing right now? Phoenix was not looking great this game in the first quarter. I think the Bucks had like a 15-point lead at the end of the first quarter, something like that, and then they had like a 31-13 run in the second quarter, and Giannis was like the only one scoring for the Bucks. And then after that, it was a Giannis carry job. I think there was a stat that was like of like team points since the second quarter, and or I guess since the start of the second quarter, and it was like Giannis was 7 for 11, and the Bucks were like 2 for 19, and it was like, holy shit, it's literally just a straight up carry job. Like Giannis had that 40-point game in game 2, where both Holiday and Middleton didn't really do shit. Middleton didn't play bad in this game, but he also only shot the ball 13 times, which is a little low for him. So, this is definitely by far the most carry job game of all of these games, and this was the one that he won even more so than game 2, obviously. Like, this was more of a carry job to me than game 2. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Middleton played better than he did in game 2 for damn sure. He was just a little timid. So I don't know. I might not go that far. But ultimately, this was a carry job game. It just straight up was. He had nearly half of their points while having so many incredible defensive plays. Like, how many players can drop half of their team's points and then also lock down defensively? 5 blocks, so many shots that he altered, so many incredible defensive plays. The Bucks defense in general was amazing. Now I understand that they were like getting away with like ticky-tack fouls, but so were the Phoenix Suns. Like, that's just kind of how the NBA finals are officiated. So when people complain about that, I'm like, that's how it's going both ways. But their defense was impeccable. And that Giannis at the forefront of that. Their defense was better when Giannis was at the 5 and PJ Tucker was at the 4 and Pat Connaughton was at 2 and Chris Middleton was at 3 and Drew Holiday was at point when they went to that lineup. That is their best lineup, except, Dante DiVincenzo in the place of Pat Connaughton under normal circumstances, but he was injured. But yeah, anchor of an amazing defense, half the team's points. Obviously, he walked away with Finals MVP. Video that I uploaded before this one, just not necessary. Like, that became pretty fucking clear in this game. Yeah, I'm very, very happy right now, even as a not Bucks fan. But like, I almost was like, is this what it feels like? But no, I know that if the Bulls won a championship, I would not even be able to compose myself to do a post-game recap. So yeah, that is all I have to say. I think 23 minutes. Jesus Christ, I knew it was going to be long. I warned you. Yeah. Next video I'm going to be posting, it might be something on this second channel, but the next video on the main channel is going to be that Popovich project. So be ready for that when it comes out, and not tomorrow, but the day after. Yeah, that's it. Goodbye.